So now let's go to the boring session. You had all the excitement and stuff. My talks are usually very low keynote and everything. So if you fall asleep, I don't mind. Okay, it's perfectly fine. So we're talking about building a robo army with Angular and also using NativeScript. Okay. So I'm Sebastian Witalec. A lot of people don't know how to pronounce my name, so I always have to do it. I consider myself a jack of all Angular and a master of robots, and you'll see why in a moment. So I live in London, and like right next to where I live, there's like a bunch of squirrels. Like, you know, there's a nice park and everything, and all the squirrels that live there, they're super cute. Like, they're really nice. They're like so cuddly, and you know, if they eat a nut from your hand, everybody gets very excited, right? Like, and we all think like, oh, they're so nice, but are they? Are they really? Because there's one of them. This one is called Jack. He started throwing peanuts at the nut allergic people, and you know, they had different reactions and everything. And something was on the cars. It was like, what the hell is going on? So Jack started a small trend. Then the others joined in. You know, they had bazookas and all sort of machine guns and everything. So it's like things are going out of hand completely. So like, okay, we need to call, you know, get somebody to help us out. So the stormtroopers came up, right? So it's like, yeah, we have stormtroopers. Everything is going to be fine. You know, we send in like the whole kabang, and it was like, everything will be fine. But the thing is, squirrels were a lot smarter than we all thought, and the whole thing failed miserably. So it's like, okay, Star Wars didn't work, you know, all the machines and everything. Jedi didn't come, so that doesn't count. So we still had to get, you know, ask for help. You know, you're not gonna give up the park to the squirrels. So we called for help, and the robots answered. Okay, so it's like they said, like, hey, we can come over. We don't really have lives, so we can sacrifice ourselves for you, right? Like, just give us the battery. But there was a challenge. You see, like, as everybody speaks different languages, so do robots. You know, like they basically speak binary or like this is high in ASCII. So we had to be able to communicate with them somehow. So the robots that came to help us, they actually spoke Bluetooth. Okay, so yeah, we could probably talk to them in Bluetooth. So let's see how Bluetooth actually works. So every Bluetooth device will have its functionality divided into a bunch of services. So each service could be like maybe for a dashboard or for weapons system or a drive control. Okay? And then each of those services then is divided into a bunch of characteristics. So inside the dashboard, we'll have a speed indicator or fuel indicator. For weapons, we have like a acute ray and a laser. And then finally, for drive control, you have a steering wheel, accelerator, and brake. You know, all sort of things to control the robot. Okay? So we have the services, we have the characteristics, and each of those will have like their own special addresses as well, which we call UUIDs. And some of the services as well might be read-only or write-only. So the read ones will basically send you information about the state. So like we check speed indicators, like what's the current speed of the robot. All right. So to send a command to a robot, we basically have to use the service and the specific characteristics, and we have to write a command. So if we use the queued array, we can send a command to reload and attribute on how much to charge in percentage and maybe the type of the array. Okay. So to construct that, basically to make a command, we use service characteristic and array of values that we're sending in. Okay. All right. So these are the basics. So how do we use that? So if we start with Web Mobile, so basically there's an extension for Chrome, which is basically Web Bluetooth, which we can use to perform that. So the steps to follow are pretty much like this. So we first have to install the Web Bluetooth in our project. And also, if we do like this -- reference, that will provide us like help with the typings. And then the first step is basically, let's go and find the devices we want to connect to, okay? So we basically call navigator.bluetooth.requestDevice, and we have to provide some filters. So for example, say, hey, we're looking for devices which name starts with word mumble, right? And this device should use one of these services. So we have to specify the UIDs of the services we expect that device to have. And basically this, what this will do is like it will give you a pop-up in your browser, and then say, hey, here is a list of devices, and if you click on one of them, then basically this returns unobservable. Okay, so if we use that, then basically we get a device. And then from the device, we can call connect. And at this moment, basically your Bluetooth driver will try to connect with the Bluetooth of the actual robot or whatever device you're using. So once we connect it, we get a server. Once we have server, then we can request a specific service. So let's say if you want to use the drive service, we can just call get primary service, provide the UID of that service, and then we get a service object. With the service object, we pretty much do the same thing where we just call get characteristic, and we can get specific characteristic. And once we have the characteristic, we are ready to send commands to it, okay? So to send a command, to read a command, you can actually use characteristic.readValue, and then that will return a promise, and then you can convert it to like uint8, which will give you an array, and then you can actually print each of the values yourself. To send a command in, you can actually construct like an int8 array, and then we basically call characteristic.writeValue, and then we pass in that array inside. And then each time you basically want to send a new command, you just fire this. So the cool thing is that when you connect to a device, usually you go through all the steps from search, connect, set up service characteristic just once. And then once you have this characteristic object, you just reuse it for writing and reading. Okay? That's pretty much the idea. So one of the first volunteers arrived, and these were our little drones. And we had to kind of talk to them. So I kind of figured out how the whole API worked and everything, which was a little bit painful at times, but overall was worth it. So what I did, I actually created this Angular service called Mambo Angular Service, which you can get from NPM. So if you have one of these guys, you could actually build an application really quickly. So using that service, and I'll show you the implementation in a moment, I was able to build the app and send the drone on a scout mission. So let's jump into the code very quickly. So if I start with the app component, so in my app component, I'm importing my Mambo service, and I'll show you how it's built in a second. And I'm using dependency injection to add it into my application. So for example, to make it take off or to make it land, I'm just basically calling specific functions. Then, for example, if we want to control it, I can set the altitude, or make it turn, or make it like roll, like going sideways, etc. So I'm binding it to kind of like different keys on my keyboard. So that's from the UI part. The way it's implemented, I first have like a Mambo service. So Mambo service basically does this: navigator Bluetooth.request device. I'm getting the devices, and once I have it, I'm just converting to like a drone object. So the drone object pretty much maps all my functionality. So if I just jump quickly to things like set max altitude, and basically I'm calling just flight command instructions write, which basically does the characteristic write value command for me, right? So I have like a helper function that constructs the array for me, but each time I'm trying to change, like make it turn left or right, go up and down, I'm just preparing the buffer and then sending it again to the drone. And that's pretty much the magic of it. If I just quickly show you land, or take off. So when I call land, for example, I have to send a command of 030. In order to say takeoff, I'm just sending 010. And also, one of the things I have to do that's very specific to this drone, and that's what I'm doing in preferred buffer, usually each command will have a value 2, then there is a step, and I explain later, and there's 2, and there's always this like 010 or 030, etc. Anyway, the step is basically each time I send new command, I'm just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, so that the drone knows that this is the next command. It can, in case one command arrives too soon. Okay, that's just for that. It will be important later on when I will show you some hacking. Anyway, so let me start a drone, because you all probably want to see that. I have my application going. So this is as far as my design skills go. I have a search button. So, and this basically is what I get from Web Bluetooth. The search is just when I ask it to search for devices, I call pair. And then right now, my browser is pairing with the drone. Yeah, it says ready to fly, and I have my little instructions over here, and I can change speed. So if I, was it takeoff? Yay. So I can make it fly. Make it go lower, and then I go forward. Let's go towards the camera. That was intentional to go so low. I'm just a bit rusty with it. But yeah, he's pretty good. Hey buddy, come here. Say hello to people. Yes. Hello. Yeah, he's pretty cool. And you know, they actually added some extension to it, so you could use like a Google VR, Google Glasses, and then you have a camera that you can attach on it, and you can do drone racing with it. So it is pretty cool. When I practice with it more, I can actually land on a space this big. It's pretty awesome. So let me bring him closer. Come on, land it. All right, stay quiet for now. It's pretty cool, huh? We're gonna come back to him a bit later, so I didn't want to use up all the battery. All right, so next thing. So that's how we do it in a browser, but how about taking away from browser? What if you wanted to have on a mobile phone? So that's where I'm going to use NativeScript. So you all know what's NativeScript, open source framework to use JavaScript, build mobile applications. I don't have to tell you that. But in this case, and I shouldn't mention Eddie again, he built this plugin called NativeScript Bluetooth, which pretty much allows you to do very similar thing to what we did with the previous plugin. So first, you have to install the plugin called TNS plugin add NativeScript Bluetooth, simple stuff, and then we need to require it. And in order to even use it, we have to set the permissions. So if your mobile app doesn't have the permissions to use Bluetooth, we have to call request course location permission. And then once that's done, it's just a one-off. The user will have a pop-up saying, are you allowing so-and-so app for this? If they accept it, then we're ready to use Bluetooth. Okay? So then, in order to find the device you want, we just call Bluetooth.startScanning, and we have to just pass in a callback. So we're saying, OK, we want to maybe look for devices for about 3 seconds, and then each time a new device is discovered, we basically get this undiscovered callback coming back with the peripheral, which basically has information like the UUID and name and few other things. So we can take this information to maybe display it in the UI to the users. Okay. Next step. So once we have the peripheral, we have to connect to it, right? So we found all the devices, and the user picked that one. So in order to connect, we call Bluetooth.connect. We provide the device UUID. And then we have one function that triggers when the device got connected so that we know it's ready, and another when it's disconnected. So if the battery ran out or something else happened, at least you can handle some additional resources that if maybe you had some observables based on device, etc. So once we connect it, we can start writing commands, actually. So in order to read a command, you just call Bluetooth.read. And you just provide the UUID of the device. So that was what came from peripheral before. And then you provide a service UUID and characteristic UUID. So unlike the web Bluetooth, you don't have to create a service and characteristic object. You just all you just need is have these IDs for each of those. That's how you send a read command, and basically that will return a promise. So then you can convert the result into something more readable. To send an instructions into a robot, there's a few different ways. But again, we provide the ID of the device, the service, and the characteristic, and then we can provide a list of attributes in order to set it in. And then that pretty much, so that we construct the parameters, and then in order to execute that, we just call Bluetooth.write without response, and then that will send a command. And there's 2 ways of doing it. Either you do write without response or write, or just write. And the one with response basically waits for the robot to say, hey, I did receive it, and he acknowledges it. But if you want to control something like a robot that you have to fire like 50 commands per second, then you have to do the one without response because it's a lot quicker. Okay. So the next hero joined our rebellion. He's called Captain Mipush. Well, it's just Mipush really, but in the fight with the rebellion, he's called Captain. He can dance and talk and everything. He's pretty fun. Again, like with the Mambo drone, I created a plugin that is specific to NativeScript. So it's called NativeScript MIP BLE, which if you create an object, an instance of it, and pass in the UID, you have all the functions like move forward, turn left, keep on moving, etc. So let me show you a quick demo then of how this works. So, and not only a demo, I'll do some live coding. I'll show you how to write the application. So I already have like a small scaffolding application. I should probably show you on the screen. So I can't do it on the iOS simulator because it doesn't allow me to use Bluetooth from the simulator. So I have to do it on a real device. So let me just connect my phone quickly. And let's kick off SiteSync, which should show my screen. Here we are. So we do this and this. Silence me, push. Don't behave. Behave. People are watching. Are you laughing at me or the robots? You know, if you work from home, you start talking to yourself and robots. All right, I just need to restart SiteSync quickly. I should be able to share the screen. All right, that's my phone. Perfect. So you'll be all able to see what I'm writing. So I have this small scaffolding app already. So I'm just gonna build it for my phone, and you'll see it in a moment. So you already has like all the buttons and stuff. So the first step, like I was saying, in order to connect to the device and make it slightly bigger, I have a scan function. So search for device, I can call Bluetooth.start scanning. And this is where I love TypeScript, because I don't have to remember the attributes. I do control space, and then I can search, for how many, 3 seconds. What else the parameters are, the service UIDs. So I don't usually remember them. Oh, actually, I don't have to even specify that, sorry. Because let's do that. And then another parameter was undiscovered. So whenever we discover a device, we're going to get, let's call it device, because I can't spell peripheral. And then each time we discover, we see we have this array of devices. So basically, I'm just going to do this these devices push. And I'm just going to, the device should have, what should I have? Oh. Yes, I know, you're here. Silence. All right, so the device should have a UID and a name, okay? So I'm getting device.uid, and I'm going to get device.name. We're going to get to you. Behave, young man. Yeah, I was trying to build the wrong project. I was trying to... I am not boring. Yeah, I was trying to build a web project with TNS, and I was like, that's not going to run. All right, wrong project. You're going to pay for that, I'm telling you. Actually, he doesn't have to be on the floor just yet. Yes, I know you're stuck. All right, so the application is building. Enable Bluetooth. Okay, let's enable Bluetooth on my phone. Number 1 step. we have Bluetooth. So at the moment, it just shows like some dummy results. So if I press scan, there's a lot of null ones, but there is MePush over here, right, appearing. That's his name. Let me change the theme maybe. App CSS, because that's an ugly theme. Forest. You should be able to see forest. Yeah, I'll be better. OK, so that's how we can find a specific one. So if I want to connect to one, I have like onConnect functions. If I press on one of the buttons, it will call it, and it will give me the UID of the device. So I can just call Bluetooth.connect, and that takes the UID of the device. So I can pass it here. Then we have the onConnected function, which basically give me the UID. Actually, I don't even need it, to be honest. So when I'm connected, I have like a function that navigates to another page. So I'm just going to call navigate to controller and then pass in the UID and semicolon. And then finally, to stop TypeScript complaining, I have onDisconnected, which I am going to, well, let's not disregard. Alert disconnected. All right, let's save that. So it should refresh our app anytime now. Here you go. So now the robot has different lights in front. So whenever I connect, he should go green. So I'm going to scan, find MePush, click, made some sound, and it's green. So I'm connected, and I'm on another screen. OK, so this screen, I have few buttons like move forward, move back, turn left, and right. So we have to start writing commands. So that's a different page now. So in order to figure out the commands, luckily for me, we published the whole interface. So let's see. Let's search for forward. Oh yeah, there is. Drive forward with time. So that the first value you have to pass in is 0x71 because it's in hex. Then the speed is value between 0 to 30. And then the time interval is between 0 to 255. And I think that's multiplied by 7 milliseconds. OK? So let's see that. Let's take that. So to send a command, like I was saying before, I need to say Bluetooth.write. And in my project, I already have the service UID and characteristic UID I need. So that's FFE5 and FFE9 for every instruction. So OK, let's do that. So service UID, FFE5, just to you see what is what, characteristic UID, FFE9. OK. What else do we have? The peripheral UID. OK, so this is the device UID. I'm actually getting it when I navigate to this page. But that's another topic. And then finally, the actual value. So the value, which is the instruction. So I'm going to create new int 8 array and then pass in some values. So if we looked here, we need 0x71 first, 0x71. Value between 0 and 30. He was annoying. He's going fast. And then for how long? Well, at least 200 times 7. So he should be able to drive. This is a function. And no semicolons inside. So that's to drive forward. And then as well to drive back, let me do two things at the same time. It's the same thing, but 0x72. So I'm just going to do two at the same time. Oops. And I need to save this. So let me go back to my phone. Oh. Yeah. Demo time. Let's see. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but he was annoying, right? What's going to happen if I drive him forward? You pay. Anyway, just to show you he can go backwards, forward, and he doesn't get offended. He's a bit shaky now. I can make him go forward, or I can make him go back. Yeah? It's pretty cool. He can go back and forward. Then to implement like turn left and right, it's pretty simple, so slightly different, 0x73 for turn left. And then first we have to provide the angle between 0 and 255 times 5. And the second one is how fast. So I'm going to copy this so twice. So I'm going to do 73 and 74. So what was it? Angle. Let's put 100. I think. And then how fast? Yeah, 20. Let's do 50 and 20. I think that should do it. Let's let it reload. It's going to get excited because it gets disconnected. OK, because every time I restart the app, it just has to happen. So let's connect to MePush. We're there. And now we can make him turn left and right. A little bit left and some right. The thing is about this command, though, is that I can only send one command at a time. So while he's driving forward and I tell him start turning left, he's going to stop driving forward. He's just going to start turning. So there's another command called continuous drive, which basically expects me to send a command every 50 milliseconds. And I'm sending both parameters, like whether he's going forward or backwards, and it should be turning at the same time. So I have a function for which I'm using an accelerometer. So I can start doing this. And I can control him by just moving my phone. Come here. Are you offended? Do you still like me? Come on. Oh, he likes me. OK. Now go and say hi to people. Say hello. He can talk and do other things, but that's not part of the demo. Hey, Broco. Hi there. Hey, how's it going? Say hi to the camera. Wave. No, he can't. All right. So that's MePush. So he's joined our fight with the rebellion. So let me go back to the session. Do you like it? Do you like MePush? God, I had to beg for it. Tough crowd, right? So, but it's all easy if you have the API, right? When we published the whole API, it was easy for me to pretty much reuse all the functionality from MePush. But from Mambo, when it comes to the drone, they actually, I don't know, I just couldn't find in the API. But I had this little gun, and I couldn't find anywhere how to use the gun. So we're looking at reverse engineering. So luckily for me, the guys from Mambo, they actually published an Android application that they built themselves. So all I had to do is download this application and start doing some snooping. So if you have an Android device, you can enable Bluetooth HCI snoop log. And then basically, if you use the device, all the Bluetooth commands will be saved into files. So there will be this file called BT snoop HCI log. And if you take that file, you can load it into the tool called Wireshark. And you can start seeing all the commands. So you can search based on services, characteristics, etc. And so, like we could look for all of this. So the thing is, what I had to do in order to figure out is like, OK, I knew how the command for the drone, how to take off and land, right? Is always like this 2, some step 2, and then 0, 1, 0, etc. Right? So what I did is I fired a few times, made it take off, land, fired a few times, and take off and land. OK? So I'll be pretty much looking for something like this. So if you remember, I was showing you before, the command would be either 2 step 2 or 4 step 2, depending on the approach. And then it's 0, 1, 0, 0, 3, 0. So I'll be looking for that pattern inside my code. So let's talk to the Wireshark. I have slides for it, but I can actually show you live. I love this slide. I don't think you can see that. So I'm not going to record it in front of you because it actually takes a while and etc. But what I can do is if I sort, like this is the, I'm sorting by the characteristic UID, and this is the characteristic UID I'm looking for. And then if I look for, you see this over here, I have 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. So it's like 0, 0, 3, 0. and then again, takeoff, land. So pretty much, I was supposed to have 2 fires before, and then 3 fires in between. And as well increments I have, 11, 12, 13. So by doing that, it actually took me a little bit longer when I was trying to do by myself. Like it took me like half an hour, lost some more hair. But when I found it, I was like, yes, this is my command. I basically just have to send the usual prefix, then 10, then 02, and loads of zeros after that. So if I jump to, oops, what's going on? Scroll. So basically, that's what I have in the slides. I found these commands. I was able to then extract them, and I then basically converted the command to 10, 02, and then loads of zeros. And then since I had my API already for the drone, I added it as a fire function. So now I can call it as actually 16.2 and then few zeros. And then, so let me show you how that works. Do I have any volunteers? No, nobody's gonna die. I can't promise, but I'll try.
What are you shooting? I'll do it.
Come on, Julian.
Yeah, come on.
Do you want me to? No, you have to come over here. There you go. Okay. So take off. You remember, if you get hit.
The belly area would be good.
Oh! Fire!
I didn't expect it to. I thought it was just one shot.
Oh, you're supposed to die.
I'm pretty bad at dying.
Come on, just die. All right, last bullet.
I'm more like, the night.
No, he's like Superman. He's the NativeScript
Holy
t-shirt.
grail, I'm going to be here without arms and legs. And then I'm
All right, kamikaze! Yes! I have a whole army of those, okay. And these things reattach, sort of, later. That was not scripted. So the result of the overall battle with the evil squirrels, because that's where we began, ended in unconditional surrender. So the squirrels went back to being nice. Jack started behaving, no more throwing peanuts at people. But the summary is this. Using Bluetooth is actually fun and easy. And it's nice if you actually get a real device to play with. It's really, really cool. If you want to get started, you can have a look at some of the plugins I wrote. They might be slightly over-engineered in some points, but hey, components. So yeah, you can look at my, for Mambo, for the drone, I only created one for the web. And for MePush, I created one for Angular and, for Mambo I have both, NativeScript and web. And then for MePush, I have just the NativeScript version of it. Also, kind of differences. So like if you're using Android or iOS, you can support up to 10 devices connected simultaneously. So I told you I have a whole army at home. So sometimes I will take 8 of those, and then I'll make them dance and stuff. It's hilarious. I have a life, and I have loads of friends. You see, 2 of them traveled with me. Look, they're here. And I loved it. Actually, this one doesn't have a name yet, MePush. Yeah, we need to come up with that. But yeah, basically using NativeScript allows you to connect to multiple devices. When it comes to web Bluetooth, you can use it pretty much from Chrome, from Mac. You can use it on Windows. You can use it on Android. I don't think you can use it on iPhone yet. There might be a support for it. But you can only connect to one device at a time, right? So if you're trying to use your Macs for the Robo Army, you better connect to the commander, okay? Just one device at a time. And there's also another way of using web Bluetooth, which is the Angular one. And that one actually uses observables. So if you prefer observables versus promises, that might be the way to go forward. And then to close off, you want to do reverse engineering, just use HCI Snoop. And then with Wireshark, you can figure out what's going on. And then like some of the advanced options to how to analyze that. You can either use some sort of pattern matching tools to look for commands you understand, or I was working even at one point where you could have a replay tool. So if you have this Snoop log, you could basically load it into a tool and then step by step just fire, next, next, next. And then at one point when you see take off, for example, it's like, oh, that was the command. So you could use this kind of things. So I have Q&A, but we don't have a Q&A. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much. That's it, yeah. So can we get all the speakers up front? Because we have a small gift for you guys.
Oh yeah, shall we do that now?
Yeah, let's do that now. So come on, speakers. I speak to you, the speakers, and I'm here already. You all did a great job. I should possibly help out. I'll be back in a second. Oh, you're bringing everything? Right. Cool. So basically, this is a bit to encourage you guys, in a way, to give a talk maybe next year. But we have some nice presents, and whether you drink or not. So this is basically from Progress, or the NativeScript team for every of the speakers. So I'll help out. So there you go.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today.
I was planning on getting drunk.
Yeah, exactly. That was already your plan. So do you want two?
Awesome, yeah.
Oh no, you're a lightweight. I forgot.
Thank you.
That's it. Oh, that's
Oh,
mine.
that's.
No, you're not getting any.
We have.
Don't fly and drink. And,
It's okay. I've got one. I'm not sure if we got missing anyone, but if you enjoyed your session, you can show the appreciation.